everybody, welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here and Jack Pinat. All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go!
Contact between the Mercedes teammates!
Denoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside! Masterclass from the Chilean!
Crucial championship points on offer here!
Do not count down Danny Beresne.
Longe has done the job! This is for the win between these two!
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix!
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever! Lucas Blakely takes the championship! It's Barry Foreman!
Jarno Opmeer is your champion!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Premier Sim Gaming Leagues and welcome to round number 2 of this season's championship, season 39. My camera graphic still has a logo, it shouldn't. I've just realised that. But that's not my fault. I don't hold my hands up and hold myself accountable for that one. And neither does the man alongside me. It is Mr. Tom Wilkinson, who is back alongside me once again. First and foremost, let's get the niceties out of the way. How are you, my friend?
I'm very well, thank you. Hopefully you're doing very well, as is everybody else that is joining us. That's the nicest we're going to be, clearly, for the rest of this broadcast. Looking forward to it. We've got some talking points after what happened 7 days ago in Bahrain, moving into Brazil. I said it last week, my favourite track on the F1 calendar. Always an absolute cracker. Hopefully we can carry on what we saw last week, because it was a very nice way to start the season.
Yes, a really good way to start the season, and a really good way to start the season for the reserve, Francesco Largo, who, let's show up your last race. Francesco Largo is going to be absolutely rolling in this, because absolutely the best race he could have wanted to kick off the season, taking the race win, and then Epic Vale and Brando rounding out that podium. Very strong podium, very, very nice. And a lot of drivers very, very happy, I think.
Yeah, two drivers that won't be very happy though. One of them is Azem, who crossed the line to pick up a win, but picked up a 5-second penalty post-race. The other one was Casper Flack, both of them for crossing the line at the pit lane entry. Now, there's a little bit of tarmac, I think it was painted yellow, that you're not allowed to put your wheels on. Those two drivers did that as they were moving over to the pit wall. That's the flattest part of the circuit. It gives them a little bit of an advantage going down the straight, as opposed to staying in the centre where you go over the bumps. They clipped that line. Both of them got 5-second penalties and were bumped down. It affected Azem mostly because he obviously crossed the line to win and ending up only in 8th place.
Yes, not ideal. Their championship position as well, which obviously Francesco Largo leads as a reserve driver. That's not a bad way to start your season at all. You're going to be very happy, that reserve driver. Championship challenge, maybe? Be a bit of an outside challenge for the championship, but stranger things have absolutely happened in the world of Formula One. But I am really, really looking forward to this one tonight. Similar to you, Brazil is probably one of, if not my favourite circuits on the calendar. So I'm looking forward to it. You're looking forward to it. And hopefully everybody at home is looking forward to it as well. Cameron's dad, as always, already in the chat, giving praise to his son. And it is always beautiful to see.
Absolutely. Getting in there very early. How long have we been going for? Not very long at all. So that's a lovely start. Brazil, like you said, both of our favourite circuits. Really good overtaking opportunities. Obviously, there's the obvious ones down into the Senna S's and also into turn 4 and 5 of the Cida de Lago. We could be seeing some slightly more audacious move, let's say, maybe around the outside or up the inside of turn number 6 of Ferradura, down into Bico de Pato as well. The very tight turn number 10 before you go down the hill through Magulio and then on to Zhengzhou. Very long main, sort of straight. There's a few kinks in it. You come out of turn 12, but there's technically 15 corners on the track. 13, 14 and 15 are very much flat.
Yes, it's going to be a really good one tonight. Well, I'm really looking forward to getting into this one. We have 18 drivers in the lobby at the moment, so we're only waiting for a couple more, and then it will be getting underway for that qualifying session. But looking at the order we've got today, a return to proceedings a little bit, as a few drivers who weren't here last time out have return. I do wonder, are we expecting Matteo tonight? I haven't had a chance to have a little gander as to whether he is here. Let's have a little look. Matteo
what I can
is available.
Tell you, this is the first time I've ever seen this. Nobody unavailable. That's either we've managed to catch people on a week where everybody's doing absolutely nothing on a Monday evening, or everybody's just so desperate to race around Interlagos that they're absolutely trying to pile through the door. We've got 24 people saying they'll go and only 20 spaces. So the reservists are going to be a little bit disappointed by that, I imagine, especially, obviously, Francesco Largo, the championship leader.
Yes, sorry, I am eating in the process of that, so let me quickly swallow what's in my mouth and we'll get on. But yeah.
Is it good food?
It is. It's a panini. It's a ham and cheese panini made by my lovely mother that I am currently trying to eat throughout the live stream. We'll see how far I get come the end of it, but I have very little chance that I think we'll be able to get far through my dinner, because it is going to be action-packed throughout. As you were saying, Brazil, no shortage of overtaking opportunities. One of those tracks that really does provide action pretty much every lap. Plenty of overtaking to be done. Couple of DRS straights. Sweet as you like, and an old racer's circuit as well. That's what these drivers really like. There's a lot of corners. Maybe not you'd make a move necessarily in real life, but these drivers, they will somehow find a way to go side by side, sometimes even 3 wide through corners that you wouldn't dare make a move in the real world of Formula 1. So these drivers are just different gravy, and it is going to be really good to see what they can cook up for us tonight. We are just waiting for one more driver, and then we'll be getting underway.
Yeah, we can't name and shame like we did last week. I don't think that would be very fair. A couple of other things to note as well. The weather always plays a part in Interlagos. We don't know what the weather currently is going to do, so we'll have to put that on ice and see what happens as we progress through. And also tyre strategies. There are a couple of different ways the drivers could go, not just necessarily the alternate strategy where you start on the mediums, go straight to the hards, or vice versa. So be interested to see if anybody does maybe roll the dice. Will we be seeing some soft tyres used at any point during the race? There is definitely a possibility, especially if we see a safety car.
Yes, and the safety car isn't uncommon around Interlagos.
No.
It is not necessarily its best friend. We don't see a safety car every time we go racing here, but it is certainly no stranger to a safety car or two. So we'll see what surprises are in store for us. Hopefully, though, we are in for yet another absolute corker. I think we are really looking very, very good for another great round of action, and 19 drivers in. I do wonder who the one driver we are missing is. And I think I've spotted who it is. And I don't want to name and shame, but it is last season's champion. Where is Matteo?
Well.
Oh, dear.
Well. That's not a very good omen to put down, being the last into the lobby. Maybe last into the lobby, first out of the lobby is the way that's going to go, ending up retiring early on. I don't want to put the commentator's curse or the mockers on anyone, obviously, but yes. Get yourself in here as soon as you possibly can, please.
Oh, yes. Hopefully we're not waiting until 10 past like we were last time.
Goodness.
That's also been reciprocated by Casper Flack, who said, let's start before 9:10 this time. Obviously that being his local time. But, yeah, 3 people not particularly best pleased about the little wait. Azim... Minecraft has been his practice for this evening, and Tony Richey, Rocket League, has been his practice for the evening as well. So, a few drivers maybe taking an interesting stance for practice, and TF10 Elia has shared his new setup, his new sim rig, which is a toilet. So the drivers are no shortage of a laugh. But now it's down to business because everyone is readying up, and in about 20 or 30 seconds or so, it'll be time to take your trackside to Brazil for 18 minutes of action-packed qualifying action.
Delightful, isn't it? The ticks are coming up on the side of our screen. The timer's going down, although it's quite worryingly just stopped at 0. There we go. We are loading in and we will be underway. A couple of things that we do need to talk about every week. We have ghosting off in our qualifying session, so nobody's able to nab any cheeky slipstream or toes throughout the session. No unfair advantages, so we will be restarting once our 18-minute qualifying session is completed to get those collisions back on. Because let's be honest, if we left them off, that would be quite a boring race. We'd be watching 20 people complete about 25 to 30 laps of time trial.
Yeah, maybe not the best if we were to do that. It would be nice if there was a setting that allowed you to have it so it was on for quali, off for race. Just saying, EA, if you're watching, that would be a really nice and really cool feature that you should 100% add to the game, please. But let's take there is a race to be had, and, well, who's going to be first out of the pit lane? That's the first race of them all.
And I think, well, everybody's piling out at once. It's going to be quite the race. And I imagine, yes, it is going to be the Sauber right at the end of the pit lane that wins that race. Looking at the skies, the weather certainly not set fair. Definitely a lot of cloud cover. Some not quite menacing black clouds, just the sort of standard overcast grey conditions that we would potentially see around the Silverstone Grand Prix weekend. But here in Brazil, definitely potentially could be seeing rain, but at the moment staying dry. And it's actually a couple of Hasses coming out in unison also.
Sorry, I'm eating my panini again. Epic Vale.
I've caught you a little bit short.
Epic Vale out on circuit and beginning that first out lap in no hurry around here. Maybe that rain is on the horizon, but no rain expected according to the telemetry.
That's a good sign. Obviously, because we are restarting, everybody is able to maximise all of the soft compound tyres that they've got. They've got 3 sets, so I'd be expecting to see everybody do at least 3 runs. You could potentially get away with doing a couple of them. The tyre wear, not too bad around this circuit, only usually the middle sector that you need to be careful of with the load you're putting through those front tyres in particular. And it is obviously a very short lap as well, so potential opportunities to get multiple lap times and multiple runs in.
Yes, plenty of time for these drivers to get multiple runs in. You could probably get about 4 runs in with how quick this circuit is. And Epic Vale wasting no time, heading down Reta Aposta and towards Destino de Largo already. Really getting on with things in qualifying, and you've got to around this sort of circuit because it is so fast. You've got to get up to speed super, super quickly. And it is no surprise that everyone is out on the circuit and taking as little time to get up to pace and speed as humanly possible. On Epic Vale, not doing a bad job at the moment. A good first sector, a decent first lap shaping up for the Italian, who's now rounding that final real corner. But with speed and rotate ever so slightly down this straight and up towards the line, and well, it could be the opening lap that everyone looks to chase, and it is a 106.611. Not a bad lap time, but immediately beaten by the Haas of Elia.
And Lifeboat returning to the pits, obviously the first driver that has invalidated, and a few following in suit as well. Casper Flack a little bit off the pace on a 106.8, along with Max, who's only on a 12.2. Not a particularly good time for that Williams. The times are going to be piling in because everybody is so close together and desperate to get as many laps on the board as possible, but it's still the first two that cut the beam that lead the way. Epic Vale over the line first. He is currently second. Elia in the Haas, the only driver in the 106.5s as Ryan in that Red Bull jumps just ahead of Cameron Dowds in the green machine of the Aston Martin. I think that is the first runs completed. We've got Azam, who was the last driver to cross the line, who has not invalidated. I thought they made a mess of it, but a couple of tenths down on what we saw from Casper Flack through the first couple of sectors. So last week's race winner on track, not post-race, cutting the beam now in the Papaya McLaren and jumps up only into 10th place on a 106.9.
Yeah, not a bad opening lap time from Azim. A good banker lap time on the board, but the TF10 earlier, what a good lap time to kickstart their qualifying session. And can't complain too much at this early stage as well. It is really early doors. But to get that good banker on the board is really important for these drivers. And I have no doubt, being P1 so early on, it's going to be a little bit of a sign of confidence, I suppose. But plenty more laps to come between now and the end of this session. Rydell has invalidated what looked to be a second attempt at a flying lap, but most drivers already into the pit lane once again. And, well, if your name is Matteo, already back out on an outlap.
Yeah, very quick turnaround down pit road for the drivers that did make a mess of it on their first flying laps. 15 times on the board, only 14 representative, of course, because Max in that Williams did not get a good time on the board. Maybe a little mistake somewhere around there with that 12.2. And if they are nearly 6 seconds off the pace, that would be certainly concerning for the Williams team. Brando coming around Jungshao corner. We only have 4 drivers on the circuit at the moment. One of them, who is Enzo, had just completed a lap, jumping into 6th position, just half a tenth slower than teammate Cameron Dowds with the Mercedes of Volakongen in between them. We'll wait to see if Brando, Lifebout and Matteo can get it right on their second chance in this session with just under 13 minutes remaining.
Indeed, yeah, Matteo heading to his first lap of the session at the moment, and he needs a good lap here because we were saying about it last time out. He's in a bit of hot water because not being here last round with his school trip, which I hope Matteo enjoyed, and I hope it was worth it, does mean that he wasn't able to, you know, do a representative race in, well, the first race of a 9-race season. He hasn't got many opportunities to make up points. It's going to be really important that he gets off to a good start here.
Got to put a marker down straight away. I'm watching with the Haas of Brando, who will be the first of these 3 drivers to cut the beam to set a lap in the session, although Lifebout made a mistake, I believe, through the center S's and bailed out of it almost immediately. Here comes the Haas pulling gears up to the line. Where can Brando go? It is Haas 1-3 with Epic Vale in between them. What about Matteo in that Alpine car, jumping up into 3rd place, dispossessing Brando of that position inside the top 3, separated by 3 milliseconds as Lifebout there with that 1 minute 20, you imagine, going again. Very tight at the top, as we would have expected on a track so short, and I expect it's probably going to get even tighter by the time we reach the end of our qualifying session.
Not a shadow of a doubt on that one. These drivers are just somehow able to do some incredible things when you give them an absolute little bit of pressure. They really do thrive in it, and well, I am looking forward to what they can do between now and the end of this session. But Dirk's on a lap at the moment, and he hasn't got a lap time on the board at the moment. He does need to get a lap time on the board sooner rather than later, and well, he's coming round that final couple of beds and through Junkao, which I think is how you pronounce it, but I am terrible at pronouncing just about anything. I prefer to call it, is it Glock Corner, because that is what it's most well known for, but up to the line, and Dirk, 11th, that's not bad for the Williams man, but the Dutchman would have wanted that little bit more, I think.
Yeah, but very congested, you can see, just outside the top 10. Epic Vale was provisionally on pole very early on in the session. Now snatches it back from Elliot, who is still in the pits. Casper Flack getting a decent lap on the board as well. A member of this 106.6 club, currently holding 5 members as Volakongan jumps up a place into 6th position, 106.669. Only Ryderdale left to get a time on the board in the Kicksauber. Made a mistake on their flying lap. Still got a few drivers yet to get that representative time on the board. Marius Formula on a 7-0, improves by a couple of tenths to move up to 12th place. Make that 13th as Alex Lofer, who did set a very competitive time last week at the start of qualifying, but was shuffled all the way down to 10th, unable to improve as the session progressed. Does improve on their second flying lap to jump up into 3rd position.
Yeah, not looking bad at all for quite a few of these drivers who've got quite good runs going. Ryderdale has just set a purple sector 1. That is not looking bad at all. And Lifeboat's on a good lap as not a good lap, but actually, that's an in-lap. That's a bailed lap. Yeah, I just caught that just about. But Ryderdale is on a good lap at the moment. He's got a purple Sector 1 to his name, a 17.091. That's a really good first sector. What's the second sector saying? It's looking competitive for Ryderdale, who could be about to make a huge jump up the order as you're coming around those final couple of corners. You've got Tony Richet, who's about to come across the line as well. He comes into the pit lane, but look at Ryderdale. What a lap time. That must have been a brilliant 3rd sector as well. It was a great 3rd sector to the top of the timesheets. That is not bad going at all. It's now a Kicksauber and an ETA 1-2.
Absolutely smashing it out of the park, with the exception of the drivers that haven't got representative times on the board. That is the biggest gap between 2 drivers ahead of Epic Vale and Enzo, who I don't know if you spotted it, setting an identical time to Epic Vale, but obviously setting it after, so slots in just behind, and it is 3 green cars making up the top 3 at the moment. Elliot, who did have provisional pole after the first runs of the session, back out on the track in that Haas car, ready to go for a second time in this qualifying session.
Yes, the power of 3 is looking good at the moment for those in the top 3. It is looking very good as they head on towards, well, pretty much just passing that midpoint in qualifying. We've had 2 runs. We can expect a run or 2 more between now and the end of this one. And, well, still wasting no time. A lot of drivers on outlaps already. But look at Elia. In 4th at the moment. Purple Sector 3 to their name. 15.844. That is a really saucy 3rd and final sector. And it is looking very, very close at the top of the order. In 3 drivers, identical lap... not 3 drivers, identical lap times. My telemetry doesn't quite seem to make sense of everything. But it is very, very close. And, well, 6 drivers, a 10th of a second in it.
And I think we can get a little bit of an indication what setup Elia is running. He's saying fastest in the final sector. That would indicate that they're running slightly lower wings, backed up by a bit of a messy middle sector. Didn't trouble the apex at all of turn 10 of Bika de Pato. What is it going to be as we cut the beam? It is second fastest, getting ahead of Epic Vale and Enzo, who have the same time. Returning to the front row, but just under a tenth, down on Ryderdale's time. Cameron Dow's also improved in the second Aston Martin to jump up from comfortably outside of the top 10 to now nestling nicely inside the top 5.
Yeah, it's looking pretty competitive for quite a few drivers. Ryan at the moment, he's not on a particularly competitive lap time. He's probably going to bail out of that one as his second sector really not on the pace that he would have wanted in that one. But quite a few drivers on laps at the moment, but no real beaming sector times on the timing sheet. A lot of, well, white sectors for me, red sectors, I suppose, for you guys, but not really anyone taking huge leaps and bounds here.
Yeah, looking at Lifebound at the moment, the only driver not in the 106 is the only driver that hasn't got a decent time on the board, 20th and last, with just a third of the session remaining on that 1 minute 20.3. Hasn't invalidated thus far, and coming up to Jungshao corner, a 50.7 through the first couple of sectors. Not too bad at all as Matteo finds an improvement to take that second place on the grid away from Elliot, who has returned to the pits. Here comes the Papaya McLaren of Lifebound. Azem struggling a little bit for pace, down only in 14th. What can Lifebound do? Gets inside the top 10, 106.6, just ahead of Brando and Casper Flack.
Not looking bad at all. Max van der Geest about to come across the line. He can only manage 12th in that session, so disappointing for him in his conquest to get a good result out of this race. Marios not having a great first two sectors, a scruffy lap for him. He'll come into the pit lane, I have no doubts, and will regroup and go again. I think he actually does set it, but 3 seconds down, so not a great lap for him, but plenty of drivers finding a marginal improvements, but definitely, I think, a few drivers very much got a lot more practice in than others. There are a few drivers who I'd say are certainly struggling a little bit more than others, but Tony Richet at the moment, he's about to make a decent improvement, it looks.
100%. Casper Flack also in the Ferrari. Big improvement in the middle sector. Here comes said Tony, rounding what is technically the final corner, flat out of course, and jumps up to 3rd on the grid. Lovely little lap there with just 4.5 minutes to go. 106.4. What about Casper Flack? Jumps up, also was outside of the top 10, now inside the top 5. We're starting to see very competitive times put in, although none of them still challenging the Kick Sauber, the runaway Kick Sauber of Ryder Dahl out in front, who isn't actually improving on this. Azem finds a time exactly the same time as Tony Richet. Second time we've seen that in this session so far. Now he's 4th.
Is there any driver who doesn't want to set an identical time as another? Well, Guillen is about to come across the line, improves by just over 1/10 of a second, goes to 13th. Can I just point out that first, all the way down to 17th, 2/10 of a second in it.
Mad.
Absolutely mad. Brando is very teetering on the edge of an improvement. Where can he slot in if he does make an improvement? 1/10.5 of an improvement. That's a good improvement. Up to 3rd for Brando, who goes very much into the realms of competition. But Alex Lofa raises the bar higher and sets a bit of a margin there for himself. With 3 minutes left on the clock, that's the time everyone's going to be chasing. A 106.384.
I've just jumped on board with Ryder Dahl, who's just had provisional pole snatched away. And that Kick Sauber has had a bit of a chat with the Barrier, missing a considerable amount of front wing. I don't know if you can see it there. Barely anything on the left-hand side, just the bottom part on the right-hand side. So must have had a little whoopsie around there somewhere and a bit of a conversation and nibble out of the Barrier. Will that take a little bit too long to repair? We'll have to wait and see. Should be able to get out and around for one more flying lap in the session as everybody is returning to the pits. Other drivers coming out for potentially a couple of runs right at the end of the session, giving themselves some room for error if they make a mess of it on their first attempt.
Yes, Brando seems to be the first man to attempt. Actually, no, he showed us an outlap, but appearing not to be. My telemetry may be
Enzo,
having
I think
a moment.
it is.
Yes, it does appear. Who is leading us away for those final runs? It's going to be Enzo Sabaton leading us away for these runs, and I dare say Enzo's always a driver you've got to keep an eye on and a watchful eye, because he can throw a surprise into the ring, and well, he's not shaping up to look too shabby in this qualifying session. 10th at the moment, and an identical lap time to Epic Vale in front. So let's see what the Aston Martin can do. About halfway through the lap now, coming into that final sector, which is really not that much. It is just one corner and a straight, but there's a lot of time to be won in that corner.
Not really improving though. Lost 3 milliseconds in the middle sector, basically matching his personal best so far. We'll be hoping that this Williams wasn't ghosted, because then they could get a bit of a tow. Unfortunately, the ghosting is on, so no advantage to be gained there. Is it a marginal improvement? It is by 1/3 of a tenth. Enzo sneaking just inside the top 10 there, but not looking particularly pleased with that little shake of the wheel. That is going to be the end of the session for the first of the Green Machine cars. At best going to be qualifying in 8th, and considering how close everything is, I imagine going to get shuffled down outside the top 10.
Yes, Volakonga next to cross the line for Mercedes. And where can he go? He manages 11th. A decent improvement for him. What about his teammate Oscar, who's 20th and plumb last at the moment? Needs an improvement here. Is he invalidated on his lap? I can't quite see. It does show an invalidation, so looks like he'll be going again in this session to try and get one final run in. Epic Vale not improving. Yellow sectors for him, so he won't be improving on that run, but he's got enough time to begin one final attempt. I'm keeping a really watchful eye over my telemetry to see who is on good laps, and it doesn't really seem like anyone's on anything too steaming, but Dirk could be about to make an improvement.
Yeah, and any improvement you find is going to hand you a couple, maybe 5 or 6 places. Elliot won't be finding an improvement, though, invalidated through the centre S's, and he's going to be starting at best 7th in that second Haas car. Cameron Dowes is about half a tenth up through the first couple of sectors. Ryan jumps up into 12th place in the Red Bull. That's not enough to start inside the top 10. Dirk with a very marginal improvement also. Over the line we go with Cameron Dowes. Jumps up into 3rd position, just under a tenth off the pole's time, but he is not going to care about that very decent starting position at the moment.
Very decent for him at all. He's going to be quite happy with that. Tony Richet, though, takes that 3rd place away from the Scotsman. Oscar across the line. What can he do? The laps come at you so thick and fast. Only 17th for him. Epic Vale, though, jumps to 2nd. That's good. Casper Flack up to 1st. Wow, a lot of contest, over this right at the end of the session. Bridedale can't send an improvement. He will be 4th at best. What can anyone else manage? Azim can't improve. Brando improving by about a 10th. There's a yellow flag in Sector 2. Not sure who that's for, but Brando manages to climb to 4th. Alex Loafer won't play any further part. He's invalidated on his run. Dirk can't improve either. Ryan, the final man to come across the line, he's had a whoopsie and won't set an improvement. That is it. Casper Flack on pole position. I don't remember quite the first round, but I believe he was on pole last time out.
Yeah, back-to-back poles. So may have only been classified 11th in round number 1, but the quali pace is certainly there for the Scarlet Ferrari of Casper Flack. We're going to look at the standings here. Look at how close that is. The top 8 covered by less than a tenth of a second, everybody. Just let that sink in. Alex Loafer with a front row start ahead of a trio of Italians, 2 of them in the Kick Saubers of Epic Vale and Ryder Allen Brando in between them. Tony, Cameron Dowes, Matteo Azim and Elia rounding out our top 10. Enzo just missing out. Volakongan, Ryan Jan, Lifebout who binned it going through Margulio right at the end. Dirk, Oscar, Max von der Geest, Mario's Formula, and the reigning F2 champion Sergioli bringing up the rear.
Yes, a disappointing one for quite a few of these drivers, I think, but we will have a proper debrief on that. So, we are going to take a brief moment and a word from our sponsors. We'll be back on the other side and we will unpack that qualifying session and build up towards the race. It's just around the corner. We'll be back after a short break. So, welcome back after qualifying, and what an interesting qualifying session it was. Casper Flack, back-to-back poles. Can't complain with that at all. I'm sure he's going to be a very, very happy man with that performance. Your thoughts, first and foremost, on that qualifying session?
Intense. If you made a mistake, you were going to be a big, big loser come the end of the qualifying session, especially if you made your mistake right at the end. Somebody like Elliot, who was comfortably inside the top 10, bumped down to the fringes of the top 10 because they invalidated. The same goes for Matteo. Could have been starting on the front row with the pace that the reigning champ had, only qualifying in 8th place despite being 98 milliseconds off the outright time. Cameron Dowes setting the exact same time as Matteo. Like we mentioned earlier on, they start from 7th and 8th. 2 of the big guns that we have to watch out for. I think the biggest takeaway, though, and we say it every week, but this is going to be the most important one, the DRS is going to be absolutely critical. With how closely matched everybody is pace-wise, if you drop out of that train, it is going to be a long, long day for you to try and get yourself back within the 1 second window unless you've got somebody equally fast to work with.
Yes, it is really, really difficult for all of these drivers to get it spot on every time. Someone is going to slip out of that DRS range, and it's going to be a real struggle, a real fight to get back in it once it comes to it. But these drivers, they love a challenge. So someone's going to do it, and someone's going to manage to get back within that 1 second. And it's what they're here for. They're here for that little bit of action, that little bit of conquest that comes with it. But in case you missed us talking about it earlier on, last time out, a very interesting race. Casper Flack maybe 2 poles for 2, but the race results don't really reflect it so far.
I don't even know the right word, almost allowed themselves to be bullied a little bit last week, got shuffled down quite a lot, and then just got the strategy slightly wrong, pitting on the wrong lap. And that's all it is. It was 1 lap difference, and Casper Flack going from battling away for the top 5 to being right inside the fringes of the top 10, fell out of that DRS train, and that was all she wrote pretty much for the rest of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, a really difficult one, I think, for Casper Flack, but pure elation, gotta be said, for Francesco Largo, who won the race, won't be taking part tonight because he is only a reserve. But to be leading the championship as a reserve, you've got to take a lot of, I think, solace in that, and probably be quite happy with the performance you had, knowing that you put your foot in exactly the right place when it mattered most. You don't get many opportunities to necessarily perform as a reserve, but he absolutely rose to the occasion.
100%. But there is going to be that little thing, that little inkling in the back of the mind going, I can't do anything about any of these other drivers now that I'm not going to be here this week. So the likelihood is you are going to lose that championship lead. It is not in your hands, especially with Epic Vale, who was classified second most points, starting right at the sharp end once again. Going to be a huge challenge for these drivers. Now, a lot of drivers as well need to put a statement performance in. Somebody like the reigning champion, who we didn't see last week, needs to get a decent haul of points to try and mount a championship assault. Cameron Dow's decent finish, coming home in 4th in the end. Azem will be looking to try and get some revenge, let's say, for what happened last week. The same goes, of course, for the pole sitter Casper Flack as well.
Yeah, I think Casper Flack is probably almost seething a little bit at that one. He's only got 1 point to his name at the moment. Sits 10th in the championship, which isn't where he wants to be at all. But, you know, he's on pole again. He's got a chance and a real good shot at redemption. And Matteo nicely in the fold, nicely in the battle as well. And it's going to be a very, very close race, this one. No doubt about that one. And, well, nice and amazing segue. We can pretty much take you trackside right away because, well, everyone seems to be pretty much ready as everyone's just getting into the session now, waiting for everyone's name to be green. But then we'll be pretty much heading down towards turn number 1, and I wonder who dares go side by side on lap 1, turn 1.
I think a lot of people will probably dare to go side by side on lap number 1, especially considering we have lovely no rain in sight, which is going to be an absolute delight for a lot of the drivers. They don't necessarily want that extra bit of unpredictability, courtesy of the skies above us. Everybody going to be reapplying that setup, sorting their tyre strategies. Will we see somebody going for a bit of an offset, going for that alternate strategy? Going to be very, very interesting to see if anybody does roll the dice. And of course, the fuel loads as well, going to be a big part to this.
Yes, the fuel is absolutely going to play a huge part in the way the race goes today, but I'm really looking forward to this one, and I hope everyone at home is also looking forward to this one as well. Do get your predictions in the chat for who is going to win this race tonight. I don't know who my money's on, and I am really unsure about it. Who's your money on, Tom?
I'm actually going to go with Epic Vale. Was very uncompromising in their attacking and defending last week. Almost drove like they had razor blades on their elbows. I think we're going to see something similar to that once again. I think it's going to work out for Epic Vale. And from, I think it is second on the grid, that's a very decent place to be starting.
Yeah, very much so. I'm going to throw myself off the fence. I know I'm used to sitting on it, but I'm gonna be a bit exploratory today. I'm going to
No
say...
more splinters from the fence. Excellent.
Oh, yes, indeed. Matteo. Matteo. But here we go. We don't need to wait to find out. 3, 4, 5 red lights here for round 2 of season 39. And it is lights out. And away we go here. Casper Flack off the line well. Alex Loafer as well off the line decently. But look at Epic Vale already trying side by side with the, with the ETA and the Kick Sauber of Epic Vale. Won't get the Epic Vale does get the place, so a nice move already made for Epic Vale, who's your pick for the race win, and may be a very good pick for the race win. He's already getting on the back of Casper Flack, but opening lap already nicely through, and quite a few drivers making moves, but everyone playing it a little calm and conservative, and you cannot blame them. This track, very unforgiving.
Well, just as you say that, Ryder now launching it up the inside of turn number 8, continuing this battle between themselves and Brando. And it is the Kick Sauber that comes up on top. It is the green cars currently sat in 2nd and 4th now, both of them making up places. That little tussle into turn 1 that we saw between Epic Vale and Alex Loafer just allowed Casper Flack to scamper off into the distance and be under absolutely no pressure in these opening stages of the race. And my heart has sunk a little bit because everybody is on the hard compound tyres, which means we are all going for the same strategy.
Yes, gutting that everyone has gone on to the same strategy as per usual on the F1 game. Not much strategic variety, but these drivers will give us action to compensate, no doubt about that one. Enzo Sabaton battling with Volakongan there was looking like a very saucy little battle. Epic Vale also was close to the back of Casper Flack there. Not close enough to make a move, but close enough to show a little bit of intent.
100%. Just did a big group of angry cars snaking through that middle sector. Once again, very close launch up the inside from Elia, trying to get 8th place away from Azim down into turn number. It wasn't quite close enough to force that Haas far enough alongside. Big losers and the big winners on the opening lap is actually Sergio, who started from last up into 15th, gaining 5 places. Nobody has really lost them. It is Dirk who's lost 3, starting from 16th, now down into 19th. Not a good start if you're driving a blue Williams car. 19th and 20th, battling for the wooden spoon at the moment.
Indeed, yeah, battling for the wooden spoon, but battle that's not for the wooden spoon. Epic Vale, who is close to the back of Casper Flack, could sling it down the inside into turn number 1. Will he sling it down the inside into turn number 1? Not quite holding his horses on that one versus the prancing horse in front. But he is very much on close and on the back, and you see him sling to the left there on the exit of the Senna S, and nicely ahead in front, and Casper Flack could do nothing to dismay that attack and has to almost sit by and watch like a sitting duck as he's overtaken by the Kick Sauber, and now it is the Ferrari customer team leading the main team as Epic Vale tries to run off into the sunset ever so slightly if he can, but it's very difficult to escape that 1 second window. I dare say there is going to be no running off into the sunset tonight.
100%. There's going to have to be quite the scrap behind that drive to allow somebody to scamper off into the distance uncontested right at the sharp end. Seen a couple of battles, a few dices on this. The first one was down into the Senna S's. Cameron Dow's sticking his teeth into Brando, but couldn't quite get the Aston Martin ahead on that visit. And also Asm and Elliott continue with their scrap down into turn number 8. McLaren coming out on top on that occasion.
Indeed, look at this battle towards turn number 1. Oh, it's an opportunistic move from Ryderdale as he goes battling with Alex Loafer there. He will get the place versus Alex Loafer, but on the exit, Alex Loafer might just have that little bit more juice and beans down the straight. And it looks like it's very close, side by side, in towards the next corner, in towards Decino de Largo, and it is Ryderdale who comes out on top. Brando could even be having his own battle here with Cameron Dow's, the Scotsman, trying around the outside. He's made it around the outside, breaks that just that little bit later, turns towards the inside line. A lovely move from Cameron Dow's there. Took a couple of corners to make it, but executed absolutely superbly by the Scotsman.
Straight out of the textbook, and I tell you what, we could be seeing our first break-up in the DRS train because Azim is fighting tooth and nail to stay within 1 second. Got past Ryan on the run down into turn number 1, was battling away with Elliott, who has coincidentally lost a couple of places. Also wonder if there was a bit of a tete-a-tete between the McLaren and the Haas car going through the Senna S's at the start of the lap. Has been able to stay within the 1 second window, keep hold of that DRS as Tony is thinking about a move up the inside into turn number 1 on Brando, who's leaking places hand over fist here. Started from 4th down in 6th, could be losing another one to the Red Bull any time now. The top 3 staying as we were with Alex Loper, the interloper just behind them in 4th. They've got a yellow flag, and there has been a crash. It's Sergioli off, and it's his F2 rival from last season, Jan, who has also come a cropper. No front wing on the RB car, safety car deployed, and that is the first break-in play that we are going to see. It is the Alpine out of the race for the second week running, and the RB with a significant amount of front wing damage.
Yes, not ideal, and as the cool kids would say, that is not very Sigma. That is not ideal.
Excellent.
Yes, we have got the cool kids slang in today, everyone. We have kept the young'uns watching, but not ideal for Sergioli. Unfortunately, it's really been not a great start to the season for the Alpine outfit. And yeah, disappointed. I think is going to be that, and as well for Guillaume as well. Now, no front wing, and everyone's going to pit, I think, under this safety car.
Oh, you think?
Well, I don't know, actually. This will be a really interesting one. Do they, don't they? Surely it's worth pitting, but no one elects... Actually, we've got a mixed match. Casper Flack, Cameron Dowles, Brando, quite a few drivers into the pit lane, but quite a few drivers not gambling into the pit lane. So, I like it when this happens. This now brings in that strategic variety that we wanted.
Oh, we've got a mix of tyres as well. Casper Flack in the Scarlet Ferrari putting on the red strap soft compound tyres, along with Cameron Dowds and Matteo and Oscar Lifebout doing the same. Few people putting on the medium tyres. Nobody that's come into the pits putting on the hard tyres. Obviously, you don't want to be using those tyres twice in the race. And we have a full mix. This is what I was after. I'm absolutely buzzing about this. 3 different tyre compounds, visual on the circuit, which means we're going to have a very interesting restart. Watch out for Casper Flack and Cameron Dowds. They're going to be absolutely rapid on those brand new soft tyres, but they are going to degrade fairly quickly. And the 6 drivers that did stay out on the hard compound tyres, I don't think they're going to be in that bad a position. They've just got to try and maintain their position inside the DRS train. If they lose DRS to the charging group behind, that could be big trouble for their race.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to take this as a very quick opportunity to restart my game, because the game is being the game and giving me a few little issues. So, we will be back in just 2 seconds. We won't be going anywhere. We are under safety car conditions. We will be right back. Gentlemen, we'll take you back trackside. The game and lobby has been reset, and you may notice now there's a lovely graphic on the side of your screen showing you those pretty tyre compounds. Just something I've been cooking up, ladies and gentlemen. You can now see all of the tyre compounds without issue on the left-hand side of your screen. It wasn't working before, but it is now. No need to ask for those pesky tyre conditions. Tyres, we can give you them right there on the side of the screen. But unfortunately, a little bit of chaos happening under the safety car. Everyone who did pit onto a change of compound has pretty much gone back onto the hards.
Disappointing. My disappointment is immeasurable. I will throw that absolute classic at you. So they're obviously trying to go all the way to the end, making their one tyre change under the safety car. 4 drivers didn't come back into pits, those being Tony Roche, Azem, Volokongan and Jan, all sticking it out on the mediums. We are waiting for the safety car to come in. Epic Bell is going to back the pack up right at the front of the queue, and he is going now and hoping to get a little bit of a jump on the group behind and potentially try and separate the cars as they cut the beam to start lap number 8. It is still a kick Sauber 1-2, although Ryder Down under severe pressure down to turn number 1 from the RB of Alex Lofer and Ryan, who's swinging it around the outside of the centre S's unsuccessfully though.
Yes, but he's got a punchy exit off the exit of the corner, so he could have the slipstream and advantage to try and make the move around the outside here into Destino del Lago, but not able to make it move. He's having to look behind more than he is in front as Marios thinks about slinging it down the inside as well. So a saucy battle happening here over the kind of fringes of the podium, and that chance to get on the podium as well, as Alex Lofer is going to have to do quite a bit of defending here as well on those slightly more worn hard compound tyres. You've got the entire top 5 on more worn hard compound tyres, although top 4 and then Marios, who's lost a couple places versus Ryan and Tony Roche, who are both running, who's running on hards, Tony Roche and Azim, who are running on mediums, gaining a few places, and you've got to say, Ryan's not going to make it that difficult for his teammate.
Yeah, Tony and Azem should be leading this race very, very shortly on those very, very quick yellow stripe medium tyres as we start lap number 9. Still kick Sauber 1 and 2 as Marius Foreman continues to drop places to the medium runners, now falling behind the silver arrow of Volokongan, and a little bit unsteady coming through the centre S's could open up an opportunity for Jan, who was involved in that skirmish between himself and Sergio a few laps ago. No front wing, but still finds himself in 9th position once the safety car peeled off into the pits, courtesy of the strategy calls from everybody else. Interesting to note also some drivers sticking on the hard tyres that they started the race on. Some drivers very, very smartly choosing the harder tyre compound, giving them 2 sets of hard tyres to use, and that is why it only says 2 laps for those drivers. Jan does get past Marius Foreman around the outside of turn number 8.
Yes, looking good for quite a few drivers here who've gained a little bit off of this safety car, and yeah, very, very saucy, and I'm glad that lovely graphic on the side of your screen has been appreciated and well received. But Ryan is looking punchy, even though he's on more worn tyres. But look at Alex Lofer leading a place to Tony Roche now, as well as Epic Vale sets the fastest lap. Volokongan follows suit. Cameron Downs makes a place into 9th. There is battle and action everywhere you look.
Yeah, and I think the 2 Saubers are going to be quite vulnerable come the end of this first little straight here. Down the Retroposter, here comes Tony Roche. DRS flap is open for Ryder Down and Tony Roche, but the second kick Sauber is absolutely defenceless. Through goes the Red Bull up into 2nd position, as in pushing Alex Lofer down a further spot from 3rd at the start of the lap, now to 5th in the space of just 5 corners, and it is now kick Sauber, Red Bull kick Sauber, McLaren RB, with Ryan falling out of the top 5. Volokongan all over the back. In fact, looking up the inside into turn number 8, this seems to be the favoured overtaking position in the pack, and Jan trying to capitalise on that little whoopsie for Volokongan, just getting caught short by the heavy braking of Ryan in front, but couldn't quite get that V-carb alongside enough to give himself the overspeed to get the place around the outside into Beacon of Pato.
Yeah, but as we say quite a lot, the intent there, they're really just making their presence felt and biding their time a little bit. It doesn't matter if you don't make the move right away, because you've got an opportunity to do that a little bit later on. But these drivers, they are wanting to waste no time as per, as there's a bit of a change with Bidedell falling a couple of places there. He falls to 4th, and Azim and Epic Vale gaining obviously those places. But Tony Roche out in front, he's looking quite happy at the minute.
Very, very happy indeed. Hasn't got too much ERS left, but has enough to be able to defend, and I think it's going to be more concerned about the McLaren in 3rd as opposed to the Sauber in 2nd. Epic Vale 10 laps on those hard tyres, obviously started the race on them, has taken them a decent way so far. These guys that started on the hards that have yet to be going to be starting to think about what they can do strategy-wise to try and counteract and counter-punch what the other drivers have thrown under the safety car. Bit of a wobble from Tony Roche coming out of turn number 9 into Beacon de Pato again. A little bit wild on the throttle pedal, let's say. That back end looking quite loose at the back of the Red Bull car. Shouldn't be doing that, considering he's got more grip on those fresher medium tyres, and it's actually Azam but is looking very, very confident in that Papaya McLaren car. And I think Epic Vale is going to roll out the red carpet for the McLaren car, moving over all the way to the right-hand side of the circuit, not fighting this at all. And it is now two medium runners who were running in 7th and 8th before the safety car came in, now leading the way.
Yeah, but that's to be expected. They are on probably the grippiest and fastest tyres at the moment, and that's the key word, at the moment. Give it a lap or two, give it a little while, and it will all change. All of a sudden, the dynamic of this race will completely look different, but Azim not battling that position on this occasion. He will sit by and bide his time, and that's very smart from the Papaya outfit, because at this stage in the race, it is not worth the gamble, the risk of making a bit of a tenacious dive down the inside, but he's not doing bad at the moment in this race, and both of them, you've got to say their strategies may come back to bite them down the line, but they will have fresher tyres than a lot of those who are running the hards until the end. So it's going to be interesting. I think we've got a real mixed bag in terms of strategy to the end of this one.
100%, and the dynamic as we come into the second half of the race will completely flip on its head as the lead changes hands. Now it is Azim, last week's winner on the road, didn't get it after a post-race penalty, finished in 8th, taking the lead for the very first time here in Brazil. But yeah, the dynamic is going to completely shift upside down, and the hunters at this stage are going to become the hunted once these drivers that are yet to pit or have to pit again stick on their second set of tyres.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult, I think, for quite a few of these drivers who are up there at the moment to maybe keep here towards the end of the race, because they're going to have to do a lot of overtaking in that final stint as well, because the drivers are so close to each other. So you've got to gain a lot of time, then you've got to make the move. So is it going to be worth it? Is it going to be enough time gained? That's kind of what we're looking for. That's what we're really keeping an eye out for. Volakongan trying to make a move around the outside versus Alex Lofer, but can't make it work. Loses 2 or 3 places there in the process. He'll have to slot into 8th. So from 6th to 8th, a couple places lost, but no harm really done, as I'm sure he'll be nicely back up to speed and making the move back on Cameron's Dowd and Guion very, very soon, but might just have to bide his time ever so slightly as Casper Flack wanting to make a move as well, and they'll run side by side through the centre S's. Casper Flack gets a little bit caught up on the exit as well. That invites Ryan into the fold, who's going to try and sniff that 8th place away.
And potentially the second Mercedes of Oscar also down the inside. We go into turn number 4. Casper Flack is going to hold on to 9th place for the time being, although certainly a Code Brown moment coming through the centre S's was completely sideways, courtesy of the contact, and the battle behind is continuing on. I think Oscar was trying to go around the outside of Ferradura turn number 6, but couldn't quite make it work, and having to hold station in 11th place, but all over the place here, trying to get up into the top 10 for what would be the very first time in this race. Ryan, still on those hard tyres that he started the race on, is slightly compromised compared to the drivers around. Could be leaking a couple more places, although the group behind, only really Max van der Geest, who is on those brand new mediums, hasn't been able to make a lot of progress.
Yeah, it's interesting, and the problem is those medium tyres are going to start to go off in the next little moment, so it's going to be difficult, and they need to really use everything they've got from them. Azim up into P1, and you see Epic Vale making the move into second as well. So both drivers nicely making moves. Cameron Downs as well making a move on Alex Lofer, that was. Yeah, very nicely done. I got a bit tripped up in the RB sandwich. I couldn't quite find where Cameron was and who he'd just overtaken, but nice move made. He's got a few attempts to find, though, to keep within this DRS comfortably of Guion in front.
Should be fine, although the drivers in front could be quite clever if they realise that Cameron Downs is potentially on the cusp of dropping out. Try and work together very well and pull that Aston Martin, or push the Aston Martin, I should say, away from them. But Cameron Downs looks comfortably inside the 1 second window. So alarm bell's going to be turned off for now, and Jan's actually trying to attack the kick salver of Ryder Dow. They've done very well, Epic Vale and Ryder Dow, to hold station and stem the flow of the drivers on the mediums and the fresher hard tyres that are coming through. Epic Vale still up there in second place, getting past Tony Roche on the previous turn. But I think Jan is going to be helping himself with the helping hand of DRS, cutting the beam to start lap number 16, almost halfway through this race, as Matteo down in 12th place on those hard compact tyres gets one over on Mario's Formula. Cameron Dow's continuing to move forward. He's in 6th. Then it's Volokongan getting ahead of Alex Lofer, who's under pressure from the charging Casper back, the pole sitter. Volokongan goes deep into turn number 1 and 2. That could compromise Alex Lofer. Again, these two making contact, but this time it is going to be the Ferrari that comes out on top as opposed to the RB.
Yes, Casper Flack making the move, but these drivers are fighting really hard for these positions and places, and you've got to wonder, is it worth fighting this hammer and tongue on lap 16 for these places? Well, these drivers may certainly argue and think so, and I kind of dare say it might be worth it in the long scheme of things for their races, but you know, right now it seems maybe a little bit unnecessary, but you think about the time you might lose behind someone over time. Look at Guillaume trying to make the place on Ryderdale. This is a hairy battle, and Guillaume is really trying to make the move any way and which way he can, but those tyres are probably beginning to feel quite a second hand now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, the dynamic between these now 10-lap-old mediums and the 15-lap-old hard tyres that this group out in front started the race on. They should be feeling very second-hand, but like you said, the mediums will also be feeling past their best, and that is why Azem is still not looking particularly comfortable out in front, and Epic Vale has been able to hold station in second for the time being. We haven't seen anything from Tony Roche in the previous few laps. It's actually going to be the likes of Cameron Dowds and Casper Flack who will be the ones to watch on the freshest the freshest hard compound tyre. Sorry, Casper Flack just has to dispose of the Mercedes of Volokongan, which, judging by how that Silver Arrow has been defending in this race, is not going to be a very easy task. Yeah, not going to be easy at all. And Cameron Dowds, I think, is looking really impressive in this race so far. 6th at the moment, and caught up nicely that gap that he had between himself and Guillaume, nearly at one point out of DRS, caught out nicely, and has brought everyone else with him as well, just really kept everyone so close in this race. And that means that, you know, we could go all the way from 1st to 13th, and we're within 1 second at the moment, which is absolutely mind-boggling things in the grand scheme of things. But Guillaume, once again, incredibly close to the back of Ryderdale. Is it a dive down the inside and towards turn number 1? It is not. In fact, it's a dive down the inside from Ryderdale on Tony Roche. What is going on here? All of a sudden, Ryderdale must have felt the pressure from the RB behind, because he just made an outlandish move, compromised his exit, and Cameron Dow's making a move on Guillaume as well. He got caught up in that incident a little bit, and now Cameron Dow's into the top 5 and could very easily be in the top 4. And Casper Flack has muscled his way past Volokongan down into Desida de Lago as well. So it is the Aston Martin and the Ferrari starting to make their way forward. Jan was studying the rear of the Kicksal, but going to be very, very familiar with the geometry of the rear end of that green car, but now falling behind a different green car in Cameron Dow's, courtesy of that just a little misjudgment, I think, from Jan. Tried to go around the outside of the curve of the Sol, was boxed in a little bit by Ryder Dow, who just got caught out in that battle between himself and Tony Roche. And Cameron Dow saying please and thank yous as he cruised up the inside through the curve of the Sol to move up into the top 5 for the very first time in this race. Yes, Cameron Dow's, I think, is going to be very happy with how his race is progressing so far. 5th at the moment on the road, and certainly could be quite that bit higher come the end of it. With those in front, you've got 2 drivers in front having already pit in this race onto those mediums. They'll probably have to pit again. I dare say they will have to pit again, based on how things are looking at the moment. Enzo Sabaton has retired from the race. Penalty for speeding in the pit lane to suit. Cameron Dowd capitalises on a mistake from Ryderdale, up into 4th. Ryderdale now down to 6th. And Cameron Dowd's getting a buy one, get one free, just without having to buy one. He just got a free sample there, courtesy of a mistake from Ryderdale, and he takes himself into that top 4. And he's just looking really competitive, the Scotsman. I'm really impressive, as he may even... you should imagine if he went around the outside there, that would have been quite something. But a mistake from Tony Roche, there's quite a few drivers who are looking quite vulnerable at the minute. Tony Roche, the first one, whipping that rear end round through Maguglia and Bika Pato, struggling with the rear of that car. Diving into the pits goes Azam and Epic Veil. So two very interesting strategical calls there. The safety car is not going to be called out, of course, because Enzo retired in the pit lane. So ignore those yellow flags that are currently on screen and going down into Decido de Lago. Hopefully that Aston Martin does pull off the circuit and does into Lance Stroll territory from the 2024 race. Tony Roche sticking it out on those medium tyres. Interesting group that are coming to the pits. All of them have put on another set or a first set of the medium tyres. That'll take them to the end of the race, and they're now going to charge towards the likes of Cameron Dowes, Casper Flack, Oscar as well, who will be running all the way to the flag.
Yeah. It's really interesting at the minute. I'm like really studying this order and like all of the strategy. I've got my telemetry open and just looking at the strategy we've got. We were saying that there wasn't going to be much variety, and somehow we've ended up with a
dropped it.
Ezra, Lifeboat does make a mistake. Somehow we've ended up with a lot of variety. I think where we weren't necessarily expecting it as well. We expected it to be quite bland. Cameron Dowes is not having a bland race at all, as he's going to go nicely past Tony Roche, Rydell and Alex Lofer into the pit lane as well. As we head on to lap 21, got 15 laps to go in this race still. Cameron Dowes now leading the way. Tony Roche going to be struggling on those worn mediums. You could see Cameron Dowes pull away over a second if he has a good lap here.
Do you think Tony Roche, Volokongan and Max von der Gies, who have stayed out on those mediums, are trying to extend it maybe to go to softs right at the end? And that would leave us with two chasing groups trying to catch the drivers going to the end on the hard tyres. You'd have the leaders on the hards, then the second group on the mediums, and then the back group on the softs, potentially all converging on each other right at the end of the race. That'll be a fascinating climax right at the tail end of this 36-lap Grand Prix. It's a bit of a pipe dream at the moment, but if it does pull off and it does happen, that's going to be fascinating to see how it develops.
I was going to say, do not give me such copium. I don't think I could handle such a dramatic end to the race. We had dramatic end to the race last time out. I don't think I could handle it a second week running, but I'm sure they will absolutely be trying all of the different strategic options at every team and weighing it all up as Tony Roche weighs up that the best thing for his race is a move down the inside of Cameron Dowes, sweet as you like, down the inside, lick the stamp and send it down the inside of Cameron Dowes, who now we'll have to try and chase back after the Red Bull in front and see what he can do in his conquest to take the race win tonight. But the Scotsman, I think, just wants to consolidate what was a good round last time out. Get a second good round, and you will be absolutely laughing. But there is plenty more laps for things to be decided.
100%. And Casper Flack actually quite lucky not to pick up damage, clattered into the rear of the Aston Martin as that overtake by Tony Roche was made. Lucky Ferrari driver that he didn't pick up any front wing damage that could have really compromised and ruined his chances of picking up a first win of the season, despite picking up the two pole positions that we've had so far coming around Jingsha corner. Tony Roche a little bit wide of the apex and a little bit wide over that horrible exit curb right on the right hand side of the circuit. Can almost spit you into the grass and the wall and Kimi Raikkonen territory out on the right hand side. Are we going to see the lead changing hands once more? Here comes Cameron Dowes like an absolute missile with helping out a DRS and some ERS as well. Casper Flack again runs into the rear of the driver in second place. Not quite as significant or as substantial as he did on the previous lap, but still got to be careful.
Yeah, definitely has to be careful, and I think for a moment Casper Flack thought about a move on Tony Roche as well. It looked like he had a little bit of an intent for a possible overtake, but almost backed out of it, I think, and it's really difficult for, I think, Casper Flack. He wants to get a good result here, and I think he feels almost a bit vindicted by what happened last time, and like he needs to take a really good result tonight. So I think he's really got to be a bit careful because he doesn't want to take too much of a chip on his shoulder, because he will pay the consequences if he pushes the boundaries just too far, like he did last time out. You know, didn't get the result he wanted and makes a mistake there, and that could be a chip in his race, as that could invite Volokongan and Oscar into the fold.
100%. Are the Mercedes cars going to dive into the pits? No. So we can only assume that Tony Roche and Volokongan are waiting to try and put the soft tyres on right at the end of this race. Tony very close to the back of Cameron Dowes into turn number one, but couldn't throw it down the inside or even the outside to try and get the lead back. Epic Vale and Azem making the most of Elia, who is still on those 22-lap-old hard tyres that has started the race on, dropping down into 30th. Through goes Jan as well. That is the first group of chasing cars on the mediums, as we see a bit of a switcheroo going on between the Mercedes cars. Oscar now up into 4th position on the better hard compound tyres. Matteo, who has gone under the radar a little bit, the reigning champion, haven't spoken about the Alpine too much in this race, holding station nicely in 6th position on 22-lap-old hard compound tyres, so that could come back to bite him right at the end of the race if those charging group of drivers on the mediums catch them.
I don't think that was a planned switch from the Mercedes drivers. It looked a little bit of a late attempt from Oscar to make the move on Volokongan, but I could stand mistaken, and I could well be mistaken, but it did seem like it may have been just that little bit of a late attempt of a move, but stranger things have happened, and stranger things will continue to happen as Tony Richet elects not to make the move this time around, but does have a bit of a poor exit as well. But that DRS, that benefit down the straight, is going to absolutely blast him past, probably, and keep his place secure, but not able to make the move on Cameron Dowd. And we've seen them switcheroo a couple times over the last few laps. A shame that they don't switcheroo that time around.
100%. And I don't know if you caught it, but Matteo just had a little sneaky look up the inside of Volokongan into the Senna S's. Stuck a wheel alongside the Mercedes, but Volokongan robust in their defence and holding on to 5th position for the time being, although Matteo looks very, very likely to snatch that 5th place away from the Mercedes and get into a Mercedes sandwich very, very shortly. What's the gap behind? Max von der Gies struggling on those mediums, 4.5 seconds off the back of Matteo, with Dirk and Brando in hot pursuit. Then another 4.5 seconds to the chasing group on the medium tyres that are going to the end, charging after that leading group. Epic Vale, Azem, Jan, Ryan, Ryderdal and Alex Lofer all working together to try and catch this runaway group at the front. Tony Richet not electing to take the lead away from Cameron Dowds on that number 26 down to the Senna S's.
Yeah, he had the overspeed. He could have made the move, but elected not to. So strategic ploys being made, I think, by quite a few of these drivers. And you've got to understand why. These drivers, you know, the race lead is a good place to be for some reasons, but it's also a bad place to be for many others. You can't conserve your battery as easily, so why not give Cameron Dowds a little bit of maybe a reason to burn the battery a little bit more, make him a little bit more vulnerable, pay and get the benefits later down the line. And well, you know, he absolutely can do that because Tony Richet is in that position to apply that pressure, and he's going to if given the opportunity. But a little bit of a poor exit off the off of turn 10 is not ideal for him, as he will fall to 7 tenths behind. Another little squeaky moment on the rear end as well. So not the cleanest of laps from Tony Richet, but you see that DRS really does carry so much speed down the straight from about 7 tenths behind to pretty much at the back door of Cameron Dowds.
And I'm really starting to wonder what the strategy is here for Tony Richet or Volokongan, still staying out with 9 laps or 10 laps of this race technically to go. That's definitely enough to get the softs to the end. Maybe you're coaxing them to the end in the final couple of laps, but you should be able to close the gap. I wonder if they're maybe also considering going all the way to the end of the race. That would be a tall order on those medium tyres. You'd be doing 30 laps on a set of mediums. If they do get them to the end, I mean, they should be given quite the reward come the end of the race, because that would be a mammoth stint, and they should be congratulated thoroughly for that effort.
Yeah, so I just thought I'd have a look at some tyre wear data to get an idea as to what it's looking like for those who are possibly... it's not going to happen. I can already tell you. I'm looking at some of the tyre wear data from those who've been on those mediums for 20 laps so far. Those tyres are hovering at the moment at about 50%. You're going to be too far into puncture territory, I think, to really get anything out of it. So we've just crossed the line. And Tony Richet, his average tyre wear is 58%. So it is not looking good to take those to the end of the race. We're getting close to puncture territory. Give it, well, if we look at average tyre wear per lap, about 2 3% a lap. Give it, 3 or 4 laps, you're in puncture territory. Not going to be great.
And you can see really struggling with the rear end of that Red Bull car. Those rear tyres starting to beg for mercy a little bit with a huge slide coming through turn number 7 of Ladan Hina just behind Cameron Dow's. 7/10 of a second though, courtesy of that little mistake. And Casper Flack shadowing every move underneath the rear wing of that Red Bull car. Again a wobble coming down the hill of Magulio, turn number 11. Really starting to see these tyres drop off. I wonder if Tony Roche has just now hit the cliff on these medium tyres. Dropped out of 1 second also. Is the Red Bull going to get DRS? This could be a golden opportunity for Cameron Dow's to escape out in front. Still staying out in this race, so trying to baby them all the way to the end of the Grand Prix. Volokongan equally struggling on his set of mediums. Through goes Casper Flack and Oscar. I think this could be curtains for Tony Roche. If he was going to try and make the stop for the soft tyres, it would have been 3 or 4 laps ago. Those mediums are pretty much dead, I would say.
Yes, but crucially, look at the gap between Casper Flack and Cameron Downs. Now Oscar and Cameron Downs, 1.2, 1.1. Can they gain this crucial few tenths they need, or will it be Cameron Downs who will be comfortably in a position of, the race lead and possibly win, because those behind on those hards, they're on the same tyres, they've got about the same wear on them, so you would say it's going to be a bit difficult to chase that. It's now at 1.1, now about 1.2, so it's not exactly within the realms of unpossibility, but it's not exactly looking easy either.
I'm seeing Tony Roche continuing to struggle. We haven't spoken too much about that chasing group either. Still staying out, so must be trying to get these tyres to the end of the race. Cameron Dow's been given this opportunity to scamper away out in front. Being gift-wrapped this race effectively with that gap opened out by the ailing Red Bull car. Just got to try and open it, make no mistakes in the remaining 7 laps of this Grand Prix. Be absolutely bulletproof right until the flag. Epic Vale leading the charge for the 2 stoppers, the technical 2 stoppers. He's about to take 7th place away from Dirk. Still 8.5 seconds off the lead. That's still quite the mountain to climb, I have to say, for the likes of Epic Vale, for Jan, for Max von der Geest, who is struggling there. Azem, who I think has got a little bit of damage as well on that Papaya McLaren car.
Yeah, still got to gain a second a lap to get into, just over more than really to get into the frame of this one. As Epic Vale has cleared Dirk, which is crucial for his race, but now really has to foot to the floor and go, because otherwise he's not going to have any chance of getting involved in this race. But I suppose he will take solace in the fact that he will know how much Volokongan and Tony Roche are struggling in front. Their tyres are more than double as worn as his. So absolutely really going to be difficult for them. Oscar bleeding even more time to Cameron Downs. You've got to say it's curtains for the battle for the win.
Unless we see a safety car, of course, which is possible. Matteo trying to get involved as well. Now battling away with Tony Roche, who picks 4th place back up from the Alpine, who was on the canvas in his attempt to try and get involved in the scrap between Casper Flack and Oscar. Still scrapping away as Tony Roche at the inside of Oscar, trying to nurse a few places back down to Desida de Lago we go. Hasn't got the grip in the Red Bull or on those ailing medium tyres to really fight that hard, to be honest, to get 2nd and 3rd place back, and having to retain 4th position for the time being. And Matteo is going to be saying, hang on a minute, I've got better tyres here. I know I've been on them for 29 laps, but 25 lap old mediums aren't exactly going to be a lot better, so I want this position very, very sharply, I have to say. And what I was also going to say earlier is Epic Vale has broken away from the group behind. He is now the solo rider in this peloton right out in front, chasing this leading group of 6. He's got about 4 seconds to get onto the back of that second train, but Casper Flack 2.6 off the back of Cameron Dowd. He is absolutely charging away out in front. Got to be careful now, because this race has been handed to him on an absolute dinner plate.
Yes, and a fine dinner plate it must be for Cameron Dowds. What a way, and that would definitely take him to the lead of the championship quite nicely, as Oscar and Casper Flack battles side by side once again. You've got to say, it's in essence a battle for being the first of the losers. It really, second is not where you want to be. You wish you were P1, and you've got to think, if you played it slightly differently, that could have been where you were. But they will take solace in a podium no matter what place they are on it. No doubt about that one, especially if you are the man on your screen at the moment, Casper Flack, who has had a difficult start to his campaign, and a podium in, we say campaign, it's only 2 rounds in, but, you know, 2 poles, didn't have a great first round, but this would be quite the way to bounce back and respond, but he's got to get it over the line, and those Ailing hard tyres, it's not going to be easy, especially with Epic Vale now only 3 seconds behind. It's getting really, really close now because Epic Vale is absolutely on a mission.
Oh, just seeing a couple of games being played. I was seeing Tony flap his DRS in front of Matteo, maybe just sending a little bit of a message to the Alpine as Matteo flies past. This group from 2nd down to 6th, still trading places. Volakongan picked up a 3-second penalty a few laps ago. Ryderdown now trying to break forward, 2nd in that train behind Dirk, who has dropped 2 seconds to Epic Vale in front in that lead 2-stop runner. Still got another 2.5 seconds to catch the back of this pack. I don't think this race is over, though, because Tony Roche and Volakongan, surely they're going to get punctures in the remaining 3.5 laps. Surely those tyres cannot do 30 racing laps.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy, and it is really crazy. I have had a look just now at the tyre wear data, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good, Jeff, especially if you are Tony Roche. How that man is running ahead of Volakongan, I have no idea. His tyres are about to hit 75%. Tony Roche. As of now, they are sitting at 73%, Volakongan on 62. So a huge difference there in terms of tyre wear between the two. You've got to wonder what in the setup is causing that amount of difference. They've been on the tyres the exact same amount of time. Why is there such a huge disparity between both drivers in terms of their tyre wear? But Tony Roche is clearly putting in the performance and the business, even if those tyres are just that more worn. But surely the puncture's going to hit sometime soon.
I mean, if you go on board with the Red Bull and look backwards, you can see the absolute state that those rear tyres are in. There's an absolute gargantuan battle going on just outside the top 10. Azim, who has not had a particularly good race, not necessarily all of his own doing, has got some front wing damage. Now being launched by Alex Lofer down to turn number 8, the Papai McLaren, losing places hand over fist. It's an almighty scrap for what is effectively only 10th place in this race because Epic Vale has scampered off into the distance. Now 5 seconds clear of the drivers he was trying to work with to get to the leading group. Jan is in 9th position just behind Dirk. Then you've got Brandu, who's on 32-lap-old hard tyres. Then it's Ryan Ryderdown, Azam and Alex Lofer, who were at one stage the leading group of 4 or inside the top 4 or 5. Now batting over 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th. Tells you how badly the strategy's gone. Volakonga's got ahead of Tony Roche. Has that Red Bull got a puncture yet? Somehow he is not and is continuing on his way. Casper Flack and Oscar also swapping places, but Cameron Dowes with 2 to go is 3 seconds up.
Yeah, 3 seconds, and that's a good margin to have. And no warnings on the board either for Cameron Downs. That is just raw pace, raw speed, and absolute Scottish performance in that car. It's beautiful when Cameron Downs is in that sort of position. He does really excel at every opportunity to ride off into the sunset. He is just locking in what is an amazing response to last season, the trials and tribulations that meant he finished runner-up again. He should come out of this one leading a championship, and that is really good for Cameron Dowes, and I'm sure he is going to be so happy if that is to happen today. But we are now beginning in just a second the final lap of action here. Tony Roche's tyres still holding on. I dare say he will get a puncture on this final lap. Casper Flack battling with Matteo over the podium spot, and Matteo may just win this one out. He does win this one out. 3rd place at the moment is Matteo's, but can it be 2nd? Oscar in front, looking a little bit vulnerable as well, but it's going to be a tall order.
Oh, lifeboat with a penalty, but considerably detached at the back of the pack there. It's not going to have any impact on their finishing position. Volakongan is only going to lose 2 places unless Tony Roche's tyres do give out with half a lap to go. It will be absolute heartbreak for the Red Bull, who has managed to baby the mediums. 30 laps, absolutely unbelievable from himself and Volakongan, but Cameron Dowles, once he got away, was absolutely unstoppable and left everybody to scrap amongst themselves. Casper Flack had his pocket pinched going into the Senna S's on the final lap of the race, was second, falling off the podium, which will be disappointing for him, but it's going to be the green machine of the Aston Martin, got the McLaren of Lifebound in front, but that is not going to matter one jot, because as we come round the final corner, it is Cameron Dowles, redemption in Brazil, it is Aston Martin on top. Oscar's just about going to take second place from Matteo, and Tony Roche's tyres, the biggest story of the day, they do survive 31 laps. He finishes 0.2 of a second ahead of the charging Epic Vale to finish inside the top 5. Volakongan losing that spot. Jan Durkan Riederdal completing your top 10. Azem, Alex Lofer and Ryan all missing out on points. I think that tells you what the best strategy was.
Absolutely. What's that song that goes, I'm a survivor? Well, whatever song it is, Tony Roche's tyres are singing them come the end of that one, because how on earth did he manage to nurse that one? I'm going to look at the final tyre wear data. He has got a puncture now, I believe, as of the end of the race. I'm not quite sure. His tyre wear data is showing at 0. Which isn't that isn't particularly good.
They've been resuscitated. They're brand new.
It must be. Oh, it does it for everyone. There you go. 82% is the most recent reference point I can get you for Tony Roche's tyres. 5th place, he took on the road 31 laps on a set of medium compound tyres. That is quite the performance from Tony Roche, but Cameron Downs, man of the hour, P1 on the road. That is a really, really good start for his season, taking to the top step of the podium. And I'm sure that is not the last time we will say that this season.
Not at all. And from 7th on the grid, very, very well done to edge forward. Oscar, though, from 17th on the grid, with the right strategy calls, comes home to finish second. Matteo in third. Casper Flack, the pole sister, just missing out on a podium there. Tony Roche, the miracle worker on his tyres ahead of Epic Vale. Volakongan, equally a miracle worker, doing almost the whole race on a set of mediums. Jan in 8th, picked up the fastest lap, so an extra point for the Visa Cash App RB card. Durkan Riederdal rounding out the top 10, as we said earlier on. And a lot of the big names that started inside the top 10. Riederdal started 5th, ended up 10th. Brandu started 4th, ended 11th. Azam started 9th, ended 15th. Alex Lofer started on the front row and ended up finishing in 16th place. 3 drivers not classified: Mario's Formula, Enzo and Sergioli, who crashed with Jan in the opening few laps.
You got to say, though, one of the big standout drivers for me, 17th to 2nd, Oscar. That is a huge race for him, and certainly one he'll be very happy about. I really hope we can hear from our top 3. I think the thoughts of them would be absolutely immaculate. I know Cameron Downs is normally always on it. He's already in the waiting room saying that. That is brilliant. He's just that good. Let's give them a ping so I can hopefully get our other 2 drivers. I need to remember who the other 2 drivers on the podium were. Cameron Downs was that far in front. I have seemingly forgotten. It was Oscar, who I was just praising. And then who was third? I've completely forgotten.
Wow. It was Matteo.
Of course it was. Matteo. Let's hopefully hear from them. Let's hopefully hear from Cameron Downs now, your race winner today. Well, Cameron Downs, what a way to take the win today, and also the lead of the championship. Obviously, there's a lot of talk this season about your performance, and if you can take the title this season, not a bad way to take a win around Interlagos. How was it?
Yeah, it was really good. I think this season it might be a little bit easier. I seem to have sort of fix my qualifying a little bit. You know, not necessarily pole laps, but I think I can mostly be in like the top 8 this season. I seem to be quite a bit quicker in quali now. So then that just makes it so much easier in the race to be able to just be up there. And I knew from the start after that safety car came in that I needed to have a gap or a car or two in between me and Casper, because I knew then when the other guys pitted, I'd have over a second to be able to just drive off into the distance, hopefully. And Tony made some sort of mistake, or the mediums just dropped off, and I knew I just had to give it everything and try and get away. And luckily it worked out, and I managed to just keep building up the gap. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, after 30 laps, Tony Roche's medium compound tyres were sat on 82%. How were your tyres holding up as well? You did, I believe, 34 laps, I think it was, on the hard compound tyres. How were they holding up? How many more laps could you have driven off into the sunset for?
I didn't really notice, to be honest. I was just they were probably quite done at the end though, because when I was trying to get away, it was literally just qualifying lap after qualifying lap. So I'm not sure they had that much life left in them, but I didn't really notice.
Yeah, absolutely. Questions from you, Tom?
At what point did you think, hang on a minute, this is my race? Was it immediately once you broke the DRS to that group behind, or once you had a little bit more of a buffer, it got up to 2 seconds, then you got it out to 2.5, and by the end I think it was 3 or 4. At what stage did you think, this one's mine?
Well, I knew after the safety car came in, I knew after I got past one of the cars that if I just kept that up and I kept Casper a car or two behind me, then I'd probably just be able to have the pace to drive away. And then I knew after the gap got to maybe 1.5 that I could keep it, because it's so easy to recharge ERS in the middle sector as well. So ERS wasn't an issue on the straights or that. So when it got to like 1.5-ish, I knew that I could just hold it there and build it.
Amazing.
Lovely. I think that's all from us, but brilliant job, Cameron. Really looking forward to this one. I think your season is shaping up to be a good one. And with 7 rounds to go. Wow, this season really is flying by. You've really had a good start to your season. So go and enjoy the race win. I've already seen your dad congratulating you in the chat, as per usual. Always a beacon of support for you. And we look forward to seeing you next time out.
Yep, thank you.
Take care, mate.
It's Cameron.
Let's hopefully hear from Matteo. I have a feeling he's connecting on PlayStation, but we'll see.
Oh, that's going to be dangerous.
Oh, no. We're in the clear. Right. Matteo, well, congratulations on the 3rd place. A good race. Maybe not the win that you may have expected, but Cameron kind of rode off into the sunset a little bit. Talk to us, though. How was the race from your perspective?
Good evening, everyone. First of all, qualifying was looking promising for the first time in a while, I have to say. But I just couldn't convert my pace into a good grid position. I mean, it's still fairly decent around Brazil to start in P7, I think it was. But could have and should have done better. But as always, if you bought the qualifying, all the blame is on the driver and no one else. First stint was absolutely terrible. I think I went the wrong way on the setup for the first stint, especially. But yeah, after the safety car came out, I just went for the alternate strat, I would say, and a risky one, because if the trains split, I would have basically lost any chance of a good result. Even with used darts, I made it work together with the other guys. It was going really well because we actually didn't lose much time at all compared to what we should have lost. At some point, I don't know how Cameron gapped. I don't know if on pace or just because of fights. I don't know why Oscar and Casper just didn't work together. I think it was Casper sitting behind Oscar all the time. That basically left us battling for the P2, and decent result. Not too great, not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, pretty good race, all things considered. A good way to bounce back as well after not being at last round due to your school trip. I did say I hope it went well. How was the school trip?
It was great. But of course,
what was it? I want to know. What was it?
It was in Sicily, Palermo. I don't know if you know the city. It's a city in the south of Italy. So yeah, we went there, spent a couple of nice days. But yeah, of course that didn't allow me to take part in the first race, and it's not ideal for the championship because it's the shortest season of PSGL ever. And yeah, starting with a DNS and a P3 is not too good for the championship. But yeah, it is what it is.
Absolutely is. Well, T-Dub, any questions from you?
I want to know how easy or difficult it was to try and manage it right at the end of the race. We saw the absolute state that the medium tyres were in come lap 36. How were your hard tyres right at the end? Because you were on them for a considerable amount of time. I think a similar amount of time to those guys that put the mediums on very early on.
So yeah, as I said, I had to put my all hards back on. So I started the final stint on 8% wear already, more or less. And the mediums started on 0% wear. But of course, they were way faster than the hards. So on my side, it wasn't that hard to manage them until the end of the race. I think I can say I basically pushed all the way till the end. But yeah, of course, mediums were absolutely done, and I think you saw that from the broadcast because yeah, at some point it was just easy to make moves on them.
Yeah, their tyre wear was not looking good. Tony Richet did actually share his tyre wear at the end, 86 to 87%, which is, that is not what you want to see. But congratulations. It may not have been the result you wanted at the end of it, but it's still a podium, and it's still, is a good way to kick off the first race of your season, other than that DNS in round one. So go and enjoy it, mate, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time out.
Thank you, and have a nice evening.
Thank you. Oh, well, I am hungry for more, and I'm not just on about my panini that is still sat to the left of me. I've still got about half of it to go.
Good bit of grub. Bit of grub.
Indeed. But hungry for more racing action? We've got plenty more of it. We've still got 7 rounds to go. TW. We've got an amazing calendar still to go.
100%. Like we said in round number 1 or week number 1, the classics, the roll call on that. Spa next week, that should be an absolute banger. If anybody watched F1 last season or even F2 last season, we had some incredible battles. China, massively improved on the F1 game. Much better to drive than it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Austria is always a fun one, as is Silverstone. And then Singapore, Mexico and Abu Dhabi to round us off. Very, very fun one.
Indeed. Yeah. It's going to be a really good end to this season, and I am so glad but also the amazing people at home alongside for this season. It is going to be an absolute corker. Well, next time out, we head to Belgium, Spa-Francorchamps for round number 3. And, all eyes on Cameron Dowles. What can he do in the 3rd round of his campaign? It's been a good start, but can he keep that momentum going? What can Matteo do? And those behind will have to wait and find out. Join us a week from now when we head to Belgium and we see what these drivers have in store for us once again as we head up Eau Rouge. But until then, when PSGL returns for PSF1, take care, stay safe, and we will see you next time out. Bye-bye.